I'm telling you to shut the f up because I don't like you and I think you're a piece of shit for being here.
You don't need feminism. You don't need it.
All right, well, then, I mean, clearly we're not
I want to take you out back and beat the bricks off of you.
You're dodging the question. You're really good at dodging questions.
Power to the polls! Power to the polls!
Hey guys, it's Hunter Avalone here, and I'm back from both the DC and the Frederick Women's Marches. Now, you've probably noticed that Luke, unfortunately, was unable to join us today, but my wonderful girlfriend offered to record the event, so let's get started. So the Women's March is basically where a bunch of liberal women get together to march and complain about rights they basically already have. So let's start off with the DC Women's March, which took place on Saturday. Now, upon walking up to the event, you could just see a massive crowd in the distance.
Hey everyone, we are outside the DC Women's March. We're gonna go conduct some interviews, hopefully talk to a few feminists, and in case you're wondering, yes, this entire place does smell like a used tampon. Now, as you can imagine, there were quite a lot of very stupid signs, you know, people calling Trump racist, saying all the "my pussy bites back," all the typical Women's March feminist kind of propaganda. However, there was a specific group of people who attended the march standing up on this brick-like stage sort of thing, and this is when stuff started to get really interesting. Guys, you know more people were deported under Obama than under Trump? That comes from Vox. That comes from Vox, a super liberal source.
Oh, no.
More people were deported under Obama than under Donald Trump.
No more deportation.
Ignore the facts. Ignore the facts.
I accept that, and that's wrong. I'm allowed to think that's wrong. I'm not gonna worship Obama just because I'm liberal. That's a wrong thing.
I never suggest that. I just hear you guys say no more Trump, no more deportation, when more people were deported under Obama than under Trump. Now, although it's a bit ironic that she'd say that while also holding a sign that was very clearly pro-Obama and anti-Trump, this girl was one of the few people who was actually polite and respectful, and she seemed very open to having a conversation and a real dialogue. We were able to have a pretty good conversation, whereas other people, not so much.
Like, what is your goal here?
My goal is to go around and ask people questions because I personally don't really agree with a lot of what's being said here.
Like what? Like what do you agree with?
Well, I don't agree with a lot of the feminist myths. For example, a lot of people say that women are paid less than men. I don't know if you believe that.
That's a fact.
That is not true. Can I explain why I don't believe that? Yes. The reason I do not believe that is because in 2016, there was a female Harvard professor who debunked the wage gap. The wage gap is the idea, what they did to find that finding, they compared a man's salary to a woman's salary. They didn't take into account if the woman had taken time off or if the man had worked overtime, because men are statistically more likely to work overtime. They didn't take any of that into account. They simply compared two salaries and claimed that women are being paid less. Since 1963, it's been illegal to pay women less. The Equal Pay Act was passed under 1963.
Have you gone into a CVS and looked at how much the razors are for guys and how much the razors are for girls?
That's absolutely. No, that's another thing I don't agree with, and the reason is a lot of female like cleaning utensils, like what you said, razors and things. Those are made differently for women.
Wait, so they have to cost more?
It costs the companies more money to make them.
There definitely are areas where women are paid less because, you know, it's stigmatized when people don't reveal how much they're paid. So it's very easy for employers to say, oh, you guys are all paid the same. Women might be paid.
But I'm trying to explain to you that, one, it's illegal to pay women less, and two, my last question I would ask you is, if companies can get away with paying women less, why don't companies hire all women?
Okay, but it's also illegal to rape somebody, and we have a rapist as a president. So
Donald Trump never raped anyone. When did Donald Trump rape someone? When did Donald Trump rape someone?
Do you know what rape means?
It means
to know that just because you force a girl doesn't just qualify it as rape. If you manipulate a female, it's qualified as rape.
Right, and when did Trump do that?
He was accused of rape by his first wife.
His first wife came out and said those charges were bullshit.
That's because
He literally admitted to it.
When did he admit to raping a woman?
Do we all watch the same news?
Hold on.
You're dodging the question. You're really good at dodging questions.
His first wife, yes, she did drop the charges, but that's due to intimidation. You think rape? If a powerful man, this is before he was president, this is what back when he was a businessman.
My choice, my body, my choice, my body, my choice, my body, my choice.
This is what you got. You were trying to block me, ma'am. Back off. Back off. This is what you people do. This is what people do. I'm here trying to have a conversation and you're shouting me down.
Yesterday, asshole.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
My body, my choice.
We're not even talking about abortion. We're not harassing anyone. We're asking questions. You're the one jumping up in my face, throwing things at me.
Your day was yesterday. Your day was
We're not even talking about abortion.
Everyone's together with, I don't want to see people like her, because she's probably, this is isolated.
But you are literally the only logical, reasonable person I've spoken to this entire event,
And I'm sorry.
which, by the way, I thank you for that.
There were also quite a lot of anti-abortion signs, which I did make an effort to try and shake their hands, let them know that I supported what they were doing. But as you can guess, several liberals and feminists made a big effort to surround these anti-abortion protests and tried to basically block them and their message.
All right, guys, so we are outside right now. This is a anti-abortion stand they have going on, and as you can see here, they're completely being blocked off by liberals and feminists. So just out of curiosity, your sign says deport Trump. Why do you feel that Trump should be deported?
Well, maybe the other side would be informative.
Okay, so how is Trump a white supremacist?
I'm not sure that needs an explanation, but...
Well, I mean, you're saying that Trump should be kicked out of the country because he's racist. I mean, there must be some example of how Trump is a white supremacist.
I'm pretty sure every day of his presidency gives an example of how he is a white supremacist. Most recently, the vulgarity that he used with respect to plenty of countries in the world.
So about the countries thing where Trump called like Haiti like a shithole or whatever, do you think Haiti is actually good? Do you think Trump was wrong in saying those places are shitty, or do you think that he just shouldn't have used that kind of language?
I don't think Haiti is a shitty place.
Really?
I think that Trump was absolutely wrong and
I mean,
racist.
ma'am, there are a large percentage of people in Haiti has AIDS. A large amount of children die before the age of 10. There's only one university in the whole place.
I'm not interested in continuing this interview.
So we are currently just surrounded by stupidity. We are truly in the bowels of Retardville.
Now, those were just some of the big highlights from the DC Women's March. However, the Frederick Women's March, which is my local women's march, got arguably even more interesting. And there might be a small reason why that is.
How's it going, everyone? I'm outside the Frederick Women's March, hopefully gonna go talk to some feminists and show off my wonderful shirt. So your sign says worst year ever. What, in your opinion, made this the worst year ever?
Because our country is being destroyed.
How so? Can I have like anything specific that you've seen?
All the progress we've made as far as the environment, human rights, women's rights are being destroyed.
So under Trump, the stock market are up and the black unemployment rate is at an all-time low. Do you think that's contributing to maybe helping make the year a little better? Or how do you feel about that? So that's just not good enough then?
No.
Okay.
And I don't think he has anything to do with that.
All right, awesome. So do you think that we should, elect people based on their characteristics and their qualifications? Or do you think we should vote for people based on their gender, like just vote for someone because they're a woman?
No, well, certainly, hopefully we elect women that are both qualified and experienced and also are women.
Yeah, okay. And
we need more equal representation in our government.
Yeah, now how do you suppose we get more women to start running for places of government?
Well, I think marches like this, I'm really involved in a mentoring program for women, young women. Okay. I think just getting people involved and knowing how the policies that our elected officials implement affect our everyday lives, making it real and concrete, that's how you get people involved.
Now, after a few interviews, I went ahead and took off the jacket, exposing my Stop Being a Feminist shirt for everyone to see. And I basically just walked around the gathering, just soaking up the glares of angry cat women everywhere.
Leading causes, lobbying on issues at all levels of government, running for office, volunteering.
Now, there was a specific guy who continuously came up to me, and he was just angrily making all sorts of accusations and even some pretty intense threats. How this happened was he asked to take a photo of me, which a few people had already asked to take a couple pictures, just probably because my shirt was, you know, getting attention. He took the photo, and then he just instantly started calling me sexist, racist, and all the typical buzzwords, while conveniently walking away. So I was sure to follow him and try to ask him to defend these accusations he was making against me.
Pigs are racist pigs.
How am I racist? How am I racist, sir? Can you tell me how I'm racist? Because you're yelling a lot of slander at me, and I think it's fair that you explain yourself a little bit. How are women being oppressed in this country?
You know what? Why don't you talk to a woman? Like, why don't you ask somebody who feels qualified?
Well, you seem awfully passionate about things. Maybe you can tell me.
I'm not speaking on behalf of women. I'm telling you to shut the fuck up because I don't like you and I think you're a piece of shit for being here.
All right, well, I'm trying to have a reasonable conversation with you, and you're the one swearing at me.
Conversation with you.
All right, well, then, I mean, clearly we're not.
I want to take you out back and beat the bricks off of you.
All right, well, we have that on camera, sir, so we'll make sure that everyone sees that.
You know what? You can go ahead and do that.
All right, I would love to sit down and have a real conversation with you.
I think you're a really awful person.
Okay.
I think that you coming here and, like, antagonizing people, you know...
How am I antagonizing people? You're the one coming up to me antagonizing me.
With your presence.
Really? Okay, well, that's
because you're
stupid.
This is what you do. This is what you alt-right trolls do.
I'm not alt-right.
You show up...
That's a lie.
I don't care, man.
Let me explain why I don't think we need feminism. Feminism began as a real movement that was actually working to fight for women's rights, like the right to vote and things like that. However, that was first and second wave feminism, all right? Yeah. We're now in third wave feminism. Okay. This feminism is no longer fighting for women's rights because women have equal...
Really? What? How do you...
Can I finish? I'm going to finish talking. Women have equal rights in this country, 100%. There's not a single right a man has that a woman doesn't. So, once the movement achieves its goals, the movement should dissolve. But because it is not left, it now leaves feminists looking and searching for some form of oppression. Therefore now we have feminists coming out and saying that air conditioning is sexist. We have feminists that are saying if a man sits with his legs spread so he's sitting comfortably, it's somehow sexist. These are not real issues. Real issues are women in the Middle East where they're actually being oppressed under Islam, whereas feminism is silent on that because it does not push their agenda.
I can agree with you that there are problems in the Middle East, but I can also respectfully disagree with you that there are no problems with sexism in America. That is ridiculous.
There is always going to be sexism. That's something, unfortunately, all right?
There's people that stand against it, and that's what a feminist is.
Well, I would disagree with you because I don't see feminists doing that any longer. And the problem is, feminists claim they're standing against sexism, but what they consider sexism isn't even always true sexism. It's like one of the examples I just gave you. Men sitting comfortably is now considered like a big feminist cause. Don't you think that sounds like a waste of time?
I can sit on a train without stretching out. Sure. I don't know. After that woman came up to us and asked us to calm down and settle down, I'm respecting her space as a woman. You know, I'm recognizing that as a man at an event that's supposed to be for women, I'm in error by making a scene. And that's something that we all do all the time. We always make errors. And the point of feminism is to hold ourselves accountable. It's to say that maybe I don't always understand why it's a problem this guy is spreading his legs on the bus. Maybe I don't completely grasp that. You know, maybe I don't understand street harassment or rape culture. Maybe I don't understand why it's a problem to use sexist language and slurs to describe women.
Don't you think it's a little bit demeaning towards women to suggest that they are not strong enough or somehow weak enough to be hurt or badly, affected by a man sitting with his legs slightly open or something like that? Don't you think that comes off kind of demeaning towards women?
I don't think I ever said that women are weak or easily offended or anything like that.
But your overall point is that stuff affects women.
My overall point was that you're an asshole for coming to this event and starting shit.
All right, well, thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Now, what I actually appreciated was a few people coming up to me and just asking me why I was wearing this shirt, rather than just making fun of me or just throwing an insult and running away.
The reason I have the shirt on that says, stop being a feminist is because I don't believe that feminism is no longer needed or necessary in this country. Feminism, by definition, is the advocacy for women's rights on the grounds of social, political, and economic equality. Women have all that, so I don't see any reason why feminism is necessary any longer.
Are you guys dating?
Yes.
Are you cool with that? Yeah, I am actually.
Yeah.
All right.
Anything else?
What was really, really cool about this whole thing is the guy from the beginning who was cursing at me and making threats actually came back to apologize. He seemed to make a real effort to actually have a real conversation, and he genuinely seemed upset for the way he had behaved and reacted beforehand. he actually turned out to be not such a bad guy.
I wanted to apologize, and I didn't want it to be videotaped, not because I wasn't wrong, but because I don't want you to think that I'm trying to save face.
Okay.
Can we have a human conversation 101?
With the camera on only.
Okay. All right, I just want to say that I'm sorry for escalating so quickly.
All right, I accept your apology.
At an event that was for women, by women, that was completely inappropriate for me to do that.
All right, well, I accept your apology, man. I do. And finally, as the event started to wind down, I was speaking to a woman at this specific table. There were all sorts of tables lined up where people like had certain causes and things like that. I was talking to one woman who asked not to be filmed when I was trying to make a point to bring attention to the table next to hers, which had a picture, that typical liberal picture of the woman in the hijab, and how it's absurd that feminists are glorifying the hijab. That's when this one woman came up to me from that table, and she was a very angry grandma.
Take it off. Take it.
All right, what I'm saying
You
is,
have totally convinced me with your shirt.
I haven't.
I mean, this is so awesome. And you look so intelligent.
Maybe you should actually let me explain my point before you get mad at me. What I'm saying is,
I'm not mad.
what I'm saying is, you're,
right? I mean, the guy's got a message, right?
Yeah, you should hate yourself.
This is what people do. They don't want to argue. They don't want to talk about anything. They just want to start yelling. All in all, I'd have to say the experience was pretty great. And although there was a lot of exciting drama, there was also a lot of very substantial conversations I had with people. I'd show more of them, but the longest conversation I had once the event was over, the people had actually asked not to be recorded. I also met a few fans and just had a great time hanging out with my girlfriend and trying to red pill some feminists. It was pretty unfortunate that so many of them would prefer to just scream at you or throw an insult and then run away rather than talk, but overall I'd have to say the experience was pretty good, because the way I see it, it's always going to be good when the facts are on your side. Thank you everyone for watching. Please give this video a like, comment below, and subscribe to my channel.
Thank you.